Hello, my friend. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever spent months, or even years, trying to learn English, yet you still hesitate before speaking? You know many words. You've watched hundreds of videos. You've learned grammar rules. But when someone suddenly asks you a simple question in English, your mind goes blank. Why? Is your memory weak? Are you too old? Are you simply not talented enough? No. The truth is much simpler than that. The problem isn't your intelligence. The problem is the way you've been learning. Most people don't fail because English is difficult. They fail because they've been following a system that was never designed for real communication. Imagine trying to learn how to swim without ever entering the water. You read books about swimming. You watch professional swimmers. You memorize every technique. But you never actually swim. Would you become a good swimmer? Of course not. Yet millions of English learners do exactly that. They read. They memorize. They translate. But they almost never speak. Then they wonder why they aren't improving. Here's something I want you to remember. English isn't a school subject. It's a living language. Languages are not collected. They are used. And the moment you understand that, everything begins to change. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. How long have you been trying to learn English? 6 months? 1 year? 5 years? Tell me honestly in the comments. I read your comments because I want to understand where you're starting from. Now, let's discover the biggest mistake almost every English learner makes. Most people believe learning English means translating every sentence into their native language. They hear an English sentence. Their brain immediately searches for a translation. Only after translating do they understand. Then they try to translate their answer back into English before speaking. This entire process takes only a few seconds. But those few seconds destroy fluency. Imagine driving a car. Every time you press the accelerator, someone tells you to stop, get out, read the instruction manual, then get back in and continue driving. Would the journey feel smooth? Not at all. That's exactly what translation does inside your brain. It interrupts natural thinking. Instead of communicating, your brain becomes busy converting words. And while it's translating, the conversation has already moved on. Here's the surprising part. Fluent English speakers don't translate. They connect English directly to ideas. When they hear the word apple, they don't think of another language first. They immediately picture an apple. That's exactly how children learn their first language. A child doesn't hear the word dog and translate it. The child sees the animal, touches it, plays with it. The word connects directly with the experience. That direct connection is what creates natural fluency. The good news? Your brain can still learn this way. No matter how old you are, no matter where you live, your brain is still capable of building direct connections. But first, you have to stop depending on translation for everything. That doesn't happen overnight. It happens one small habit at a time. Starting today, whenever you learn a new English word, don't immediately translate it. Instead, picture it. Imagine it. Connect it with a real experience. If you learn the word coffee, don't think of the word in your own language. Picture the cup you drank this morning. Smell it. Imagine holding it. Now the English word is connected directly with your experience, not your translation. That single change trains your brain to think naturally, and that's where real fluency begins. In the next chapter, I'll show you why children learn languages faster than adults, and how you can use the exact same method to improve your English much faster than you ever thought possible. Now let's continue with something that surprises almost everyone. Why do children learn languages so much faster than adults? Many people believe children are simply born with special brains, but that's not the real reason. Think about a 2-year-old child. That child doesn't know grammar, doesn't know sentence structure, doesn't know pronunciation rules. In fact, the child doesn't even know what a noun or a verb is. Yet within a few years, that same child begins speaking naturally. How? Because children don't begin with rules. They begin with listening. For months, sometimes years, children simply listen. They hear the same words again and again. At home, in the park, at the dinner table. Before they ever speak confidently, they've already listened thousands of hours. Now compare that with the way most adults learn English. They buy a grammar book. memorize vocabulary, practice exercises, take tests, but they spend very little time simply listening. Then they wonder, why can't I speak naturally? Imagine trying to play your favorite song on the piano without ever listening to it. Would that make sense? Of course not. Music enters your ears before it reaches your hands. Language works exactly the same way. It enters your ears before it comes out of your mouth. Here's something I want you to try. For the next 7 days, don't worry about speaking perfectly. Instead, focus on listening every single day. Not for hours, just 15 or 20 minutes. Listen to simple English, conversations, stories, podcasts. Don't stop every few seconds to translate. Don't panic if you don't understand every word. Your goal isn't perfect understanding. Your goal is familiarity. Every time your brain hears English, it quietly begins recognizing patterns. You'll start noticing that the same expressions appear again and again. You'll hear, "How are you? See you later." That makes sense. I'm not sure. Without trying to memorize them, they'll begin feeling familiar. That's exactly how children learn. Not by forcing information into memory, but by meeting it naturally again and again. Let me tell you a short story. 2 friends wanted to improve their English. The first friend spent 2 hours every evening studying grammar. The second friend studied grammar for only 30 minutes. But every day, he also listened to English while walking, cooking, driving, and exercising. 6 months later, the second friend spoke much more naturally. Why? Because his ears had already trained his brain. Speaking became easier because listening had prepared the way. Remember this, your ears are teachers too. The more natural English you hear, the more natural your English becomes. So don't ask yourself, how quickly can I start speaking? Ask yourself, how much quality English am I listening to every day? That one question can completely change the way you learn. Before we move to the next chapter, I want to ask you something. Which is harder for you? Listening, speaking, reading, or understanding native speakers? Comment your answer below. I'd really like to know which skill challenges you the most, because the moment you identify your biggest weakness, you also discover your biggest opportunity to improve. In the next chapter, I'll show you one technique used by actors, interpreters, and language learners around the world. A method that can dramatically improve your pronunciation, confidence, and speaking speed. It's called shadowing. And once you understand how it works, you'll never practice English the same way again. Now let's talk about one of the fastest ways to improve your English speaking skills. It's called shadowing. If you've never heard this word before, don't worry. The idea is incredibly simple and incredibly powerful. Imagine you're walking behind someone on a sunny day. Every move they make, their shadow follows immediately. Not 5 seconds later. Not 1 minute later. Immediately. Shadowing works exactly the same way. You listen to a native English speaker, and instead of waiting until the sentence is finished, you repeat what you hear almost instantly, word by word, sentence by sentence. Your goal isn't to sound perfect. Your goal is to copy the rhythm, the pronunciation, the emotion, the pauses. Think about how children learn. When a parent says, "Good morning," the child doesn't open a grammar book. The child simply repeats, "Good morning," again and again, day after day. Without realizing it, the brain begins copying the natural music of the language. That's exactly what shadowing does. Here's a mistake many learners make. They only practice individual words: beautiful, important, opportunity. The pronunciation may be correct, but real conversations aren't built from single words. They're built from connected sentences. For example, instead of practicing only the word beautiful, repeat, "What a beautiful day!" Instead of practicing only understand, repeat, "I completely understand what you mean." Now you're training your mouth, your ears, and your brain at the same time. That's why shadowing is so effective. It teaches several skills together: pronunciation, listening, speaking, confidence, and natural rhythm. Let me give you a real-life example. Imagine you're learning to dance. Would you read a book about dancing for 6 months, then suddenly walk onto the stage? Of course not. You would watch the instructor, then copy every movement, slowly at first. then faster. Eventually, your body remembers the pattern without thinking. English works exactly the same way. Your mouth needs practice, not just your memory. Every sentence you repeat becomes another small step toward fluency. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, choose one English video that's only 1 minute long. Listen to one sentence. Pause. Repeat it exactly the way the speaker said it. Don't change the speed. Don't change the emotion. Copy everything. Do this for 10 minutes every day. At first, it will feel strange. You may struggle to keep up. You may mispronounce a few words. That's completely normal. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. After 1 week, you'll notice something interesting. Your pronunciation becomes clearer, your confidence increases, and your brain begins producing English more naturally, because it has finally heard enough correct examples. One more thing. Never compare your voice to the native speaker's voice. Compare today's voice with your own voice from last month. That's the only comparison that matters. Progress isn't measured against other people. It's measured against your past self. Before we continue, I want to ask you another question. Have you ever tried shadowing before? Type Y yes or no in the comments. If you've never tried it, this week is the perfect time to start. In the next chapter, I'll show you why learning thousands of individual words is one of the biggest mistakes English learners make, and why learning complete phrases can make you sound fluent much faster. Now let's continue with another mistake that slows down almost every English learner. Learning words one by one. Think about it. How did you learn your first language? Did someone teach you the word good, then morning, then ask you to combine them? No. You learned the complete phrase, good morning. Your brain stored it as one natural expression. That's exactly how fluent speakers communicate. They don't build every sentence word by word. They use ready-made phrases. That's why conversations feel fast, natural, and effortless. Now imagine 2 students. The first student learns these individual words. Make, decision, take, photo, heavy, rain. The second student learns complete phrases. Make a decision, take a photo, heavy rain. After 1 month, who sounds more natural? Almost always, the second student. Because English isn't just vocabulary, it's patterns. Native speakers don't think, what verb should I use here? Their brain has already seen the phrase hundreds of times. It simply appears, without effort. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone asks you, how was your day? Many learners stop, think, translate, then answer. But fluent speakers already have ready-made responses. It was great. It was pretty busy. It wasn't bad. Could have been better. Those responses don't require translation. They've become automatic. And that's exactly what you should practice. Instead of memorizing 50 random words today, learn 10 useful phrases. Use them in real situations. Repeat them aloud. Write them down. Imagine yourself using them in a conversation. Suddenly, your brain isn't storing separate pieces anymore. It's storing complete communication. Here's another real-life example. Imagine building a house. Would you carry 1 brick at a time? Every single time you wanted to build a wall? Or would you use ready-made blocks that fit together perfectly? Phrases are those ready-made blocks. They help you build conversations much faster. The more useful phrases you collect, the less your brain has to translate. And the less you translate, the more naturally you speak. Here's a challenge. Starting today, every time you learn a new English word, don't stop there. Learn the complete sentence that uses it. For example, don't only learn the word excited. Learn, I'm really excited about this. Don't only learn, agree. Learn, I completely agree with you. Now you've learned something you can actually use. Not someday, today. 1 sentence can be worth more than 10 isolated words. Because language exists in conversations, not vocabulary lists. Before we continue, I have another question for you. What's harder for you, remembering vocabulary or making complete sentences? Comment words or sentences below. I really want to know where you struggle the most. Because once you identify your biggest challenge, you can begin solving it. In the next chapter, I'll show you a simple 20-minute daily routine that can completely change the way you learn English. No expensive course, no complicated method, just 20 focused minutes that you can repeat every single day. Now let me show you something that changed the way thousands of people learn English. Not a secret, not a shortcut, a system. Because successful learners don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning asking, should I brush my teeth today? You simply do it. Why? Because it has become a habit. Imagine if learning English became that automatic. You wouldn't need motivation. You wouldn't wait for the perfect mood. You would simply begin. Here's a simple 20-minute system you can use every day. Let's break it down. The first 5 minutes are for listening. Choose one short English video, a podcast, or a conversation. Don't try to understand every word. Just listen carefully. Pay attention to the rhythm, the pronunciation, the way native speakers connect words together. Your ears are warming up. Your brain is preparing itself. Now comes the second 5 minutes. Shadowing. Replay the same audio. Pause after every sentence. Repeat it exactly as you hear it. Copy the pronunciation. Copy the speed. Copy the emotion. Don't worry if you make mistakes. Every repetition is training your mouth to move more naturally. Now the third 5 minutes. Speaking. Close the video. Put the phone away. And speak. Tell yourself what you understood. Use simple English. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about perfect sentences. Your goal is communication. Even if you only speak for 5 minutes, those 5 minutes matter. Because speaking is the bridge between learning and fluency. Now the final 5 minutes. Review. Write down 3 new phrases you learned today. Not 20, not 50, just 3. Then create one sentence using each phrase. When you create your own sentence, your brain stops copying. It starts thinking. That's where real learning begins. Let's imagine 2 learners again. The first studies for 2 hours every Sunday, then does nothing for the rest of the week. The second studies only 20 minutes every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every single day. After 6 months, who do you think speaks better English? The answer is almost always the second learner. Not because they studied more, because they practiced consistently. Consistency beats intensity. Almost every time. Remember, English isn't a race. It's a habit. You don't become fluent in one weekend. You become fluent through hundreds of ordinary practice sessions. Each session feels small, but together, they create extraordinary results. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Be honest. How many minutes can you realistically practice English every day? 10? 20? 30? Comment your answer below. Don't choose a number that sounds impressive. Choose a number you can repeat every single day. Because the best study plan isn't the hardest one. It's the one you'll actually follow. In the next chapter, I'm going to share the biggest difference between people who eventually become fluent and those who keep saying, I'll start tomorrow. That lesson alone could completely change the way you approach learning English. Now let's talk about something that has nothing to do with grammar, nothing to do with vocabulary, and nothing to do with intelligence. It's consistency. Many people believe successful English learners are simply more talented. But if you look closely, you'll discover something very different. They don't always study more. They simply stop quitting. Think about going to the gym. Imagine someone exercises for 5 hours on one Saturday, then skips the next 2 weeks. Now imagine another person. They exercise for just 30 minutes every day. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme. After 1 year, who do you think will be healthier? The answer is obvious. Learning English follows exactly the same principle. One long study session cannot replace daily practice. Your brain loves repetition. It loves routines. It loves seeing the same skill again and again. Because repetition tells your brain, this matters. And if it matters, I should keep improving it. Here's another mistake people make. They wait until they feel motivated. They say, I'll start on Monday. I'll study after my exams. I'll begin next month. Weeks pass. Months pass. Sometimes, years pass. But the perfect day never arrives. Successful learners understand something important. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Think about the days you didn't feel like exercising, but forced yourself to go anyway. How did you feel after finishing? Better, more confident, more energetic. Learning works exactly the same way. The hardest part is almost always the beginning. Once you start, the next 20 minutes become much easier. That's why I want you to follow one simple rule. Never skip 2 days in a row. If you miss one day, that's okay. Life happens. People get busy. People get tired. But don't let one missed day become one missed week. Protect your habit, because habits are easier to keep than they are to rebuild. Let me tell you a short story. A young man wanted to become fluent in English. He promised himself he would study 2 hours every day. The first week went well. The second week became difficult. By the third week, he had completely stopped. Another learner made a different promise. Only 15 minutes every day. Some days, he practiced longer. Some days, only 15 minutes. But he almost never skipped. 1 year later, the second learner was speaking confidently. Not because his plan was bigger, because it was realistic. Small habits survive. Big promises often disappear. So don't build a study plan that looks impressive. Build one that fits your real life. If you only have 20 minutes, use those 20 minutes with complete focus. 20 focused minutes every day will always beat 2 distracted hours once a week. Before we continue, I have one honest question. What usually stops you from practicing English? Is it lack of time? Fear of making mistakes? No one to practice with? Or simply losing motivation? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might help someone else realize they're not alone. Now here's something I want you to remember forever. Fluent English isn't built on perfect days. It's built on ordinary days, repeated consistently. One conversation, one podcast, one new phrase, one small improvement, day after day, month after month. That's how confidence grows. That's how fluency grows. And that's how successful learners quietly separate themselves from everyone else. In the next chapter, I'll share one mindset shift that completely changed the way I looked at learning English. It's simple, but once you understand it, you'll never study the same way again. Now let's talk about something that separates fluent English speakers from everyone else. It's not vocabulary. It's not grammar. It's not pronunciation. It's their mindset. Most learners see English as a subject. Successful learners see English as a skill. That one difference changes everything. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Nobody expects to master it by reading a book. Nobody expects to become perfect after one afternoon. Everyone understands there will be mistakes. You might lose your balance. You might fall. You might feel embarrassed. But nobody says, I fell once, so riding a bicycle isn't for me. Instead, you get back up and you try again. English deserves the same attitude. Yet many people make one mistake while learning. They say one sentence, make one grammar mistake, and immediately think, my English is terrible. Imagine if babies thought the same way. The first time they tried to walk, they fell down. If they had decided, I'll never walk again, none of us would be walking today. Failure has never been the opposite of learning. Failure has always been part of learning. Every mistake teaches your brain something valuable. Every correction creates a stronger connection. Here's something interesting. When children learn their first language, nobody corrects every single mistake. Parents celebrate communication, not perfection. A child says, me want water. The parent smiles and replies, oh, you want some water? The conversation continues. The child learns naturally, without fear. Adults often do the opposite. They become afraid of every mistake. They stop speaking. They wait until every sentence is perfect. But perfection is the enemy of progress. Here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, give yourself permission to make mistakes. In fact, try to make mistakes. Because every mistake means you're actually using English. And using English is always better than avoiding English. Let me tell you about 2 learners. The first learner waits until every sentence is perfect before speaking. The second learner speaks immediately, makes mistakes, gets corrected, speaks again. After 6 months, who do you think becomes fluent? Almost always the second learner. Because fluency grows through communication, not perfection. Remember this sentence. Fluent people aren't fluent because they never make mistakes. They're fluent because they never stop speaking after making mistakes. That's a completely different mindset. Now think about your own journey. How many opportunities have you missed simply because you were afraid of making a mistake? Speaking to a tourist, answering a question, joining an online conversation, practicing with a friend. Fear steals more opportunities than lack of knowledge ever will. So starting today, replace one sentence. Stop saying, "What if I make a mistake?" Start asking, "What if this conversation helps me improve?" One question creates fear, the other creates growth. Before we move to our final chapter, I want to ask you something. Be honest. What's your biggest fear when speaking English? Is it making grammar mistakes? Wrong pronunciation? Forgetting words? Or feeling embarrassed? Write just one word in the comments, because you'll realize something important. Thousands of other learners feel exactly the same way. And once you know you're not alone, speaking becomes much less frightening. In our final chapter, I'll bring everything together and leave you with one simple action plan that you can start using today. Not next week, not next month, today. Before we finish, I don't want you to remember everything from this video. In fact, trying to remember everything is one of the biggest mistakes learners make. Instead, remember a few important ideas and use them every single day. Knowledge changes nothing. Applied knowledge changes everything. So let's build your simple daily action plan. Step 1. Listen to English every day. Even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes, train your ears before expecting your mouth to speak naturally. Step 2. Use the shadowing technique. Don't just listen, repeat. Copy the pronunciation, copy the rhythm, copy the emotion. Your mouth learns through practice, not through reading. Step 3. Learn phrases instead of isolated words. Language is communication, not a vocabulary competition. The more useful phrases, the more naturally you'll speak. Step 4. Speak every day, even if nobody is around. Talk to yourself. Describe your room. Explain your plans. Tell a story. The goal isn't perfect English. The goal is building confidence. Step 5. Stay consistent. 20 minutes every day will change your life more than 5 hours once a month. Never underestimate small daily progress. Now imagine yourself 6 months from today. You press play on an English video. This time, you understand much more. You don't panic when someone speaks. You don't translate every sentence. You simply listen, understand, and respond. Imagine the confidence you'll feel. Imagine speaking to someone from another country without fear. Imagine traveling, watching movies, reading books, or getting a better job. Because English is no longer something that scares you. That future isn't reserved for gifted people. It's available to anyone willing to practice consistently, including you. Before you leave, I want to ask you one final question. 1 year from today, which version of yourself would make you proud? The person who kept saying, "I'll start tomorrow," or the person who decided, "Today is day one"? That decision belongs to you. Nobody can make it for you. Not your teacher, not your family, not this video. Only you. So when this video ends, don't just close it and move on. Take action. Watch one English video. Practice shadowing for 10 minutes. Learn 3 useful phrases. Speak 1 minute of English. Start today. Because tomorrow's confidence is built by today's actions. If this lesson helped you, I'd love to know. Tell me in the comments. What's the first thing you're going to do after this video? Will you practice shadowing? Will you start listening every day? Or will you finally begin speaking English without waiting for perfection? Write your answer below. I read the comments, and I love seeing your progress. If you enjoyed this lesson, please give this video a like. Share it with someone who's struggling to learn English, and subscribe to English Unleashed. Every week, we explore practical ideas that help you speak better, learn faster, think smarter, and become more confident in English and in life. Remember this. Fluency is not a destination. It's the result of small actions, repeated every single day. Keep learning, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and I'll see you in the next lesson.